Okay, hello YouTube. Today I'm going to be going over a quirky kind of line in the Alekhines defense. It's e4, knight f6, this is the Alekhines defense, e5, knight d5, and then we're going to play d4. So if you do run into the Alekhines defense, this is definitely the line that you should be playing. I mean, for one thing, I think on the lower levels, there is always this weird possibility that your opponent will play knight c6, in which case you do have the opportunity to win a piece on the spot right here, which is kind of cool. If you've never seen this trap before, it's actually really neat. What you do is you play c4, and you kick this knight back to b6. Now, of course, they could play knight b4, but that's not much better. If they do play knight b4, you are kicking this knight back, and then you are kicking this knight all the way back to b8. And it's just kind of an embarrassing situation. So most people will play knight to b6, and then you can actually pick up that knight on b6 because it's actually run out of places to go. You can first play pawn to d5, giving up this pawn on the e5 square, and then you can play c4, simply trapping this knight. This knight has no place to go. It's run out of squares. The only square it can go to where it's even held is c4, and then you simply attack both of these knights at the same time. You play a move like queen d4, and then on the next move you attack one of these knights and you pick up the other one. So it's a good way to win a free knight. So if you don't play d4 against the Alekhines, I'd start playing d4, at least on the lower levels. This is a very serious possibility. Now, most people that play the Alekhines that know what they're doing, they're at least going to play d6. And then I would play this move just to hold your center together. There's actually two really good reasons to play the move, knight f3. Now, really the move that I like to play in these positions is pawn to c4, but they tend to lead to some very boring positions, actually. But knight f3 is still potentially kind of very exciting chess. One variation that can happen is kind of fantastical. Black can play d takes e5, knight takes e5, and now I think really the main line here that's kind of taken over is pawn to c6. But for a while, people were playing kind of what was known as the Larsen variation with the move knight to d7. Now, interestingly enough, when Mikhail Tal came into contact with this variation with the white pieces, he did not go for it and play knight takes f7. He played something very passive instead. My recommendation is play knight f7. Don't be a wimp. It's totally a great move. You can play knight takes f7, and it's actually really good. So at the time, I think Tal was calculating knight f7, king f7, queen h5 check, king here. And I think the main move that he was calculating was the move pawn to c4. I'm personally a fan of a slightly different move, and it's actually quite a bit more direct. G3. I've always been a fan of this move, and I've looked at it recently with engines and with computers, and all the engines and computers basically confirm that white should have a major advantage in these positions. White should be decisively better. Now, as you can see, these positions are really quirky. Black has sacrificed a piece, and he's running with his king. It looks like a hybrid bomb cloud kind of opening or something like that. So this is kind of the quirky thing that people with the black pieces like to play. But white's position is really fundamentally sound and fundamentally solid. And after g3, his plan is dead simple. For one thing, he's just threatening mate. So Black's next move is forced. He has to play knight on d to f6 to try to make some running room for his king. Bishop h3, this is the move. King d6, queen e5 check, king c6. And then this is really the critical move, is we simply shuffle this bishop back to g2. And at this point, the computer thinks that white has a major advantage. And really there's no denying it, because the move that makes the most sense to try to free black's position would be something like queen d6. Because if we can play queen d6, we can exchange queens and we'll be okay. But it doesn't work tactically at all. White is just completely winning after c4. The queen exchange doesn't help black fix his position. White is simply winning a piece in these lines. So he's getting his piece back, and the king is still going to be out in the open, and white's still going to have a ton of development. He's going to have a huge advantage here. So like an example would be something like king c5, takes, knight c3, e6, knight d5, e d5, bishop e3, f4. It's just still major advantage white. White's just doing really, really good here. So, anyways, that's kind of my recommendation, or one of my recommendations with the white pieces. And if you have knight f3, knight takes e5 in your repertoire, you should really be playing this sacrifice. You should be playing knight takes f7. There's really no reason not to play this sacrifice. I know it looks quirky, I know it looks goofy, but getting the king to the e6 square is advantageous for white, period. And then the move you're going to be playing here is g3, guaranteed advantage white in these cases. Now, of course, you're going to have a little something if they play the main line. If they play c6, you're going to have to kind of know what you're doing. Just develop pieces. Just play bishop e2, castle, and then when they play knight d7, just retreat, and then you can just play for an advantage this way. You have an advantage here as well. This should be slight edge white. These positions are also slight edge white. So you really shouldn't have anything to worry about. The positions are all supposed to be slight edge white, kind of regardless of what gets played. Of course, the other incentive to play these lines is just that one other really famous game that went g6, bishop c4, knight b6, and then bishop g7. There was a game that went knight g5, and there was also a game that went, I want to say a5, a4, bishop g7, and knight g5. And white ended up doing okay in both of these games. White actually did quite well. So these are all just main lines that you can do well in with white. You can have a slight advantage, and your positions should be okay. So anyways, this is one way that you can try to meet the Alekhines and maybe play for some quirky sacrificial lines. I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you learned something new about chess. I hope you can use some of these ideas in your own games. Thank you very much for watching.